So today I'm taking a look at an off-market piece of real estate located in Hancock Park. This is probably on one of the more desirable streets in the area. I'm not going to disclose the name because it is actively for sale and I was asked not to give the information out. So before I even drove out to look at this property, I ran the numbers. It kind of made sense, kind of didn't. They're asking 1,650,000 for this fixer, and it's only about 1,600 square feet. They were talking about converting the garage over to an ADU, which would bump up the square footage to about 1,900, but I was still lacking usable square footage to get my after repaired value. Here you could see me taking a look at what usable lot exists and how I can actually utilize this to my advantage. At the end of the day, I figured it would need to be built out in order for the ARV to be hit, and that just doesn't make sense for me. A purchase price of just over $1.6 million dollars and a rehab budget of $1 million over the course of a year or two in this market, I wasn't having it. But I still walked through the property. Here you can see the glass doorknobs. The purple hue actually adds to the character of the home. Personally, I love that character. I try to salvage it as much as possible. In some cases, you just can't salvage things and they have to go. In this case, if I were to replace the doors, I would just take all the doorknobs off and sell them individually. The hardwood flooring needed some attention. As you can imagine, this home was almost 100 years old, so it needed to be replaced. The termites ravaged it. The windows didn't fit the period. It looks like they had been remodeled maybe 10 to 20 years ago, and the kitchen was in need of some reconfiguration. So I love the saltillo tile on the floor, but a lot of these houses just weren't configured the way most modern families live. You had Jack and Jill bathrooms, you had pass through bedrooms to get to another bedroom. It's just not cohesive for today's standards. And especially in something that's almost 100 years old, you got to think of all the services. So the utilities, the plumbing's probably antiquated, the electrical is probably antiquated. Um, the roof probably needs some attention. It's just a lot going on. The HVAC is probably wrapped with asbestos, which is gonna cause problems eventually. So at the end of the day, I like the house. It's just not a deal for me. But I wanted to show you guys what I look for in a home when I'm looking to rehab a project. In most cases, I want to see something that's off market and that has very little interest because I am not a legitimate cash buyer. Again, a lot of people claim to be cash buyers, but in my sense, I'm funding with cash, but in most cases, it's going to be funded with borrowed money or a hard money loan. So at the end of the day, it is cash, it's just not cash in my bank account. So I have to pay points and interest. And it gets expensive. If I'm going to hold this property for 2 years, the points and interest are going to absorb probably $200,000 to $300,000 over that course of time, and that cuts into my profit, which in turn makes this deal not profitable. If I could have bought this for 1.2 to 1.3, I think it would have been a slam dunk. I would have been able to source the money and take that risk, but this was just too tight of a deal. Here I wanted to take a look underneath the home and see if I could find any updates, but there were none. I mean, the water heater was antiquated and it's just not a deal for me.